Okay, is there anybody out there in podcast land that has gone to the store recently and noticed they didn't have something that you might have been looking for? And I'm not talking about toilet paper. I'm talking about food products. Maybe it's fresh produce or certain kinds of meat. Well, yeah, of course, yes. Rhetorical question. We've all experienced that. But what's the solution? We're going to talk about that today with naturopathic Dr. Randy Lee here on Natural Health Dialogue. Randy, what do you have for us?
Okay, much of what we're going to talk about today is not really in the category of herbals that I usually deal with, but it's something that we've been noticing in the store of late, and that is people are going to the grocery stores and they're trying to hoard up groceries because there is an abnormal fear that we're going to run out of food products. The shelves stay empty, and when people see an empty shelf, they think it's not going to be replaced or that can't be replaced, and so they panic and they buy up every single thing that they can find. I suspect that in America today, many homes who had the resources to do so have an overabundance of stored up food because they're afraid that it's going to go away and they can't get any more. Well, there's another, that's not true. We have a great food supply in America, and the stores are getting restocked all the time. The truckers are working full time, and I saw a thing on television the other day where the truckers were saying, we're loving it right now in the respect that the highways are pretty much empty. We can move at our own speeds, and we're moving a lot of trucks. So there's a lot of stuff that's going on there to help you. That's not something we should worry about. On the other hand, I have also gone to, I'm a gardener. I've had a backyard garden almost every year of my life. I don't ever remember not having a garden in the backyard. Our reason was not because we couldn't get food, although we did raise everything we ate when I was growing up, for the financial part of it. But also I love fresh fruits and vegetables. I love to have my own things that I can pull out of the garden and eat the day that I pick them. It doesn't get any fresher than that. There's a difference in the flavor of them. So food is more delightful if you like to eat, if you've grown it yourself.
And
Plus,
then you know what you put on it in terms of pesticides and chemicals, and
you know exactly what's there. You knew the varieties that you wanted. If you don't like iceberg lettuce, but you do like romaine lettuce, well, they may not have romaine at the grocery store. It may be iceberg, but you can grow romaine lettuce. It's pretty easy to do. So what does it take to have a garden? And that's basically what I was going to talk about today is some ways that you can have a garden even if you don't think you can have a garden.
like I have a postage stamp yard. What can I do?
Category number one, container gardening. That's a good lead in there, Joseph. Container gardening. I think most people have heard of container gardening, but they don't grasp the concept. The idea is you plant seeds in dirt in a container. And quite frankly, it doesn't matter what that container is. I've had friends, my sister lives in Little Rock, Arkansas, and she lives in an apartment, and she has a little 5-foot by 6-foot balcony on her apartment, and she has no lawn at all. And so she also grew up like me in the garden. She likes fresh vegetables, and she loves salads. And so she's taken her fancy flower pots and her ceramic flower pots and things like that, and she's put them on her patio, fill them with dirt, and then put seeds in there. And if it's only 1 or 2 people to eat out of it, you only need 1 bulb of romaine. Well, guess what? You can have a bulb in about 3 weeks from a seed to a edible plant. So what she does, she plants 2 or 3 seeds and in the pot, and then 2 or 3 weeks, 2 or 3 days later, she'll plant a few more. She just rotates around the pot. She's constantly growing, for example, romaine lettuce. But virtually anything that you can put in a big garden, you can put in a.
And does that pot need to be outside?
It needs light and it needs water. It needs some light. So it's better outside. But they make grow lights. Get yourself a grow light. Get yourself a lamp and put it in a room. If you have absolutely no outdoor space at all, put your pots in front of a window that you have, or get you a grow light and put it in a room that doesn't otherwise have light. I have a friend who lives in Florida who has a medical condition where she has to have 4 to 6 hours of sunlight a day. And she's living in Florida now, but she spent most of her life in Chicago, and she didn't get 4 to 6 hours of light a day. So she actually has a light that sits in a room, and she sits in that room under quote unquote sunlight for 4 to 6 hours a day while she reads a book or watches TV or whatever using sunlight. That's another way to do it. Fluorescent lights grow good plants. So in any kind of container gardening. I have another friend that didn't want to spend money on nice pots and nice ceramic vases and things like that. So he started saving his tin cans from his beans and peas, and he just put a little dirt in there, and you can plant 2 or 3 radishes in a small little tomato can or something. So that's a little extreme. Most people aren't going to go to that, have a whole wall full of tin cans, but you could. My point is, there's always a way to container garden. Flower pots, tin cans. I know one lady that had complete salads all the time, and she put all of her salad things that she put in, everything that she put in her salad, in a half of a whiskey barrel cut in half, and it was big enough that she could pour it in there. Now, most of the plants that you have, if you're going to put them in a garden, it'll say put 1 seed every 6 inches or put one seed every foot away. That's fine if you're in a great big garden, but you can cram those pots full. She had no empty space. All of her veggies were touching each other. But if the roots can get into the soil, and they have soil with a little bit of natural compost, rather than using using fertilizers, an organic fertilizer maybe, but just use compost and dirt and a little bit of water, and you can have those plants. If the roots are in the soil, they're going to grow. So that's another way to do container gardening. The other areas are more known to people: backyard gardens, raised bed gardens. You can do a raised bed that's only 4x4. Get you 2 2x4s, cut them in half, and make them into a 4x4 circle. Put a little dirt in there and plant your seeds. So you can have a very small raised bed, so you don't have to get down so low. You can build you a little platform and put your containers on top of that. That's a good way to do it.
Great idea.
I'm personally a chip gardener. Chips, people who trim trees and shrubs and things, I talk to them all the time on the side of the road. They're cutting down trees and running them through a chipper shredder, and they have to pay. Now I'm going to quote the figure that they were using last year because that's when I got it, but the local dumps charge them $15 a load to dump those chips in their dump. I said, I tell you what, I'll charge you nothing if you'll dump them in my backyard. I've got a large enough backyard. You can dump those chips there, and then you put those. There's a video that's called "Back to Eden." Look for that on the internet. You'll find out that it has all of the details for chip gardening. And but to start with, basically, you're going to turn the soil over. You're going to put some paper down to keep the weeds out. You're going to put some chips, a little bit of dirt, and then some chips on top of that. And then when you're ready to plant, just put your seeds right in there. You have very little weeds to do. You get really good vegetables. And every year when those chips die down, you're going to put another 2 inches of chips on top of it. My soil right now, I got scared to death last week planting the garden because I was working with my hand, and I came upon worms that were 8 to 10 inches long and bigger around than my thumb. That place is working itself alive with worms, and worms work the soil. Worm droppings are the best organic fertilizer you can get. So I'm going to have a great garden this year using my chip gardening, a big proponent of that.
All right.
I don't really care whether you use thimbles to plant in, or tin cans, or flower pots, or whatever you got that will hold some dirt and some water. You can put a little bit of compost in there. You can have a garden and raise your own food, or at least enough to supplement what you're able to get at the grocery store. I'm a big gardener. I love it. We're going to offer a class in the fall on beginning gardening. If we're interested in that, let me know. If we get enough interest, we'll offer a beginner gardening, talking to people who have never had a garden before, and tell you how to get started. We'll do that in the August-September timeframe. Let me know if you're interested.
All right, very good. You can call 405-736-1030, or I'm sure we'll have more information about it at thehealthpatch.com.
You bet. And that'll be forthcoming.
All right, very good. So until then, we'll see you next time. I encourage you to give this, backyard garden idea or in your house garden, whatever kind, to try and enjoy the fruits of your labor. So until next week, be safe and healthy.